The IMF says that this will be the fastest growing advanced economy in the world this year.
You get no extras. If I want an hot meal, salad, fish and chips, it'd probably take me about a good 6 months to save up to work for one meal.
À la fois, il y a une précarisation des personnes d'un point de vue individuel et en même temps, on est en train d'enlever tout ce qui est notre filet de protection commun.
Préservé, poursuivi et intensif. Et d'ailleurs, les premiers résultats sont là.
Economic growth was revised down, business investment was revised down, borrowing and debt revised up.
Como sabéis, la situación económica de España es positiva, es buena.
Esa clase media es la que se ha evaporado. ¿Tiene miedo de perder algo? Pues sí, ya está casi todo perdido.
Let's be very clear. That's what a good economic plan does.
I have spent over half of that £20 just on that, and that will last 2 days. Meats, apples, even spam in a tin. Now I'll eat that raw on a butter. Slice it up, put it on bread, that's it. And that's how I survive.
I'm going to be made redundant in a few months because the company I work for are shutting down all the fulfilment centres, the warehouses, and 2,000 jobs are being lost and we're being replaced by robots.
I'm 64 years old, coming up to 65. For the last 4.5 years I've been trying to get work. Unemployment benefit is exactly the same today as what it was 4 years ago, which I think is ridiculous. You know, 21st century, so-called sixth biggest economy in the world, you know, and they're still paying them £73 a week. You know.
All I can do is what I've always done is I'll take any job that I can get if it brings money in, and while you're doing that it may be low paid work like in McDonald's or something, but while you're doing that you have to look for a better job if you can.
There are three sides to the globalization story. You know, there's the more or less happy side, happy globalization, that's huge growth in Asia, and this is a substantial improvement in living standards, and this is a reduction of between country inequalities, right? But there's another side to globalization, which is the fact that incomes have been growing at a very low pace for the working classes. The third globalization story, which is what has been happening to the global economic elite. You see the economic elite, the top 1%, their incomes skyrocket.
So we have an ironic situation that you have a de facto alliance of interest between the world poor and the world rich against the middle class in the rich countries.
I get my money on a Thursdays. My first priorities is pay my rent, my council tax, my water rates and my electric. And then nobody can kick me out on the street.
I've had to sell my house. I was able to give my children some money so that they could get a deposit on a house, but I haven't got a house now.
So you're going to live on rent?
Yeah.
I am worse off now in 2019 than what I was in 1964. A lot of people had work. There was a bit of unemployment, but not much. But people had respect because they worked. You could go out, enjoy yourself. But you can't do it anymore because you have no money to do it with.
I live at home with my mum because if I was to have a house of my own, it's too expensive because I need like £1,000 bond and like maybe £600 rent, and then with what I earn it's not enough because I have to buy essentials for myself, my children, like nappies and milk and school uniforms, food, gas, electric.
My children had to leave where we lived to go and find work elsewhere. My son is a paramedic on the ambulances, but the wage he gets for doing it is very poor, and he ends up having to work all hours God sends to try and make enough to live on.
These people are not concerned about the very rich. They're definitely concerned about their status compared to people who are doing somewhat better than them, and they're even more concerned and upset that their children are not going to do well.
This is Oldham Food Bank. We have clients that will come from different agencies to be able to have a food parcel. Now the food parcel consists of beans, milk, sugar, cereal, tinned meat. It's a 3-day supply of food, and they have to come with a food voucher. They can't just walk in off the street like other food banks. We have to have a limit on how many we do, so we do 4 in a 6-month rolling period.
Bolton, Oldham, Rochdale, Bury, they used to be very prosperous industrial areas. When Fortism collapsed, those cities just went right downhill.
In 2018, we helped 5,258 adults plus 2,709 children, which was a total of just nearly 8,000, and that's just in 1 year. When we started 7 years ago, for the year, I think we did a total of 100 for that full, our first year.
The more you have of that, the less are the rich interested in public services. They, of course, can provide for themselves a better quality of public service. So, and then the rich, rightly in some sense, say, like, why should I fund anything? Because I'm basically getting nothing from the state because I have to provide everything by myself.
You've got a commitment socially to a high degree of equality. You come up with an outcome across the whole range of policies which drives you towards more equality. And if you have a society, perhaps because it's huge, relatively limited sense of solidarity among the people, and particularly between the richer and the poorer, in that society, none of these norms will apply, and none of the institutions will exist to force equality. The government will be indifferent on this issue, and nothing will happen.
Welcome Brexiteers, welcome supporters. What a day. This is the day we all feared. We had a smell that this would happen. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the day that our Prime Minister, I'm almost embarrassed to call her that, our Prime Minister, she is writing to Brussels today asking for an extension to Article 50.
90% of them who voted for Brexit are the older people because they knew how it was before. When you have money, you know, that stuff what people need to live on. We went into common market, standard of living went, and then when we joined the EU all to get properly, and that's where we've been kept since, for at least 25 years, down there somewhere. And the people up here have got even higher.
I'm Richard Tice, I'm the founder of Leave Means Leave, and we're marching 280 miles from Sunderland down to London. We're marching because Brexit, the greatest, largest ever vote in British history, is being betrayed.
There's too many restrictions on the EU, there's too many rules. We can get rid of a lot of bureaucracy. We can do our own trade deals, which we're now not allowed to do.
We've had unlimited low-skilled immigration from the European Union. The average in the last 10 years is over 250,000 per annum. If you've got unlimited numbers of low-skilled workers coming in, you depress the price of wages. If you look at the ratio of what a chief executive of a FTSE 100 company earns compared to their average earnings, that has just skyrocketed in the last 20 years. And what comes with that ultimately is anxiety and then anger.
What worries about these responses, Trump, Brexit, is they will do nothing about the problem. In fact, they'll make it worse. And they will encourage people to blame their plight on some other, often weaker group. And so they will make society more divided, more violent, less equal. They are a consequence of social ills, but they are never a solution to it.
It's probably the same all over the world. You've got your rich sitting in the little glass houses and they don't give the poor nothing. You can only kick a dog so many times and it'll come back and bite you. And that's what's going to happen.
En fait, c'est comme pour tout mouvement. Il y a de la colère et il y a de l'espoir. Alors, je pense qu'initialement, ça a été de la colère, un ras-le-bol. Comme beaucoup de fois dans l'histoire, c'est parti d'une histoire de taxes qui était injuste. Maintenant, le mouvement a un peu plus de 3 mois. Mais en 15 jours à peine, les revendications ont complètement bougé. C'est-à-dire qu'on est parti d'une colère sur un point très spécifique et très rapidement, les gens se sont auto-formés, ont discuté les uns avec les autres. C'était des gens qui n'étaient pas politisés, qui n'avaient jamais milité. Et les gens ont commencé à détricoter le truc et à avoir d'autres revendications. Et ces autres revendications, c'est l'espoir. Et en fait, ce qui fait que les gens se lèvent le matin alors qu'on a tous la peur au ventre parce qu'il y a beaucoup de violence, on a tous très très peur et on y va, c'est parce qu'il y a de l'espoir.
The program that was proposed by Macron in 2017 was essentially a light neoliberal program, with the idea that, you know, if you increase the size of the cake through structural economic reforms, if you reduce the tax rates at the top of the distribution, this will increase growth, and then you will be able to redistribute this growth. That's a trickle-down economics theory. But what we've seen over the past 18 months, he cut the wealth tax on the wealthiest individuals, he reduced the corporate tax, and he reduced capital income tax. This creates a whole lot of discontent, and this is what the Gilets jaunes is about.
Moi, j'ai la double peine, j'ai même la triple peine. 1, je suis très précaire. 2, mon activité professionnelle ainsi que ma vie quotidienne est en banlieue. Et ça, c'est une peine. 3, je suis une femme. Alors là, c'est...
Right-wing populism is always a fraud because essentially it's a way of diverting the attention of the people who are suffering to symptoms of inequality like crime or other things like foreigners.
La CGT est engagée aux côtés de celles et de ceux qui luttent pour faire cesser les politiques liberticides et antisociales. L'urgence sociale ne sera pas dans ce pays ni bâillonnée ni entravée.
Ah bah, l'augmentation des prix aberrante, c'est-à-dire par rapport à ce qu'on peut gagner comme salaire, les prix ont été multipliés bien plus que les salaires. Les loyers par exemple ont pu être multipliés par 5 ou par 6 d'ailleurs, selon le passage de la monnaie française qui était le franc à l'euro. Je ne sais pas comment, la plupart des gens ont été refoulés de Paris et d'autres qui ont eu des métiers qui correspondaient au nouveau marché, eh bien eux ont été intégrés dans une vie facile mais qui ne correspond pas à la vie de la grande majorité des Français, sinon des Européens.
Donc les gens après sont complètement démunis. Et moi quand je pense au passé, à ma situation actuelle et à celle de nos enfants, mais en fait on est en train de leur préparer un monde affreux. Moi je ne veux pas préparer ce monde-là aux générations qui arrivent. Donc à la fois il y a une précarisation en fait, des personnes de manière individuelle et de l'autre côté, Tout ce qui va être de l'ordre de la solidarité de quelque chose dont on parle, la France, le pays de la solidarité des droits de l'homme et tout ça est en fait en train d'être détricoté petit à petit.
Macron was very migration oriented, which is similarity to Trump, in the sense that he really has moved toward limiting immigration into France. And you notice that very clearly that his policy with respect to immigration is not very different from the Italian new government. It's just that the Italian new government openly says that, and Macron simply closes the border.
Pour être ouvert, il faut avoir des limites. Pour accueillir, il faut avoir une maison. Donc il faut des frontières. Il faut qu'elles soient respectées, il faut des règles. L'Europe à laquelle je crois, l'Europe souveraine, c'est une Europe qui tient ses frontières, qui les protège. C'est une Europe qui a un droit d'asile refondé et commun. Et là-dessus, j'ai demandé au gouvernement d'être intraitable.
It's not normal. There is enough money for everybody eat, for everybody be good. There's not equality. There's the rich and the poor.
If Macron doesn't really, take the measure of the social and the inequality challenge, namely that trickle-down doesn't really work.
I don't understand this country because they had a lot of money. There are students who has nowhere to sleep. It's not normal. And they said Paris is magic. Paris is tragic, not magic for me.
La vida económica se ha vuelto mucho más insegura, mucho más imprecisa, con un futuro más incierto. Cualquier persona que esté trabajando 20 años en una empresa piensa, mañana se me puede acabar, porque lo estamos viendo cada día. Parece como si se intentara que la gente trabajara por menos dinero. La clase media era un trabajador con futuro, un trabajador en una escalera. Esa clase media es la que se ha evaporado. ¿Tiene miedo de perder algo? Pues sí, ya está casi todo perdido. El que tiene miedo de perder algo ahora ya es el empleado. El empleado precario.
Then the question becomes, what kind of growth would these societies generate? The danger of squeezing out of the middle class is that the engine of growth has to change. It doesn't mean that necessarily you would not have growth, but you would have very different growth.
If growth is potentially quite slow, investment tends to be relatively weak. If investment is weak, then demand tends to be very weak. But my own guess is that even if potential growth were to rise, looking at the structure of our economies, at least in the developed world, we still wouldn't get a lot of investment.
En aquellos buenos años parece ser que el Banco Central Europeo y todos los bancos europeos, alemanes y tal, les daban mucho dinero al gobierno español. Entonces en aquel momento todo funcionaba, todo fluía bajo préstamo. Entonces resulta que ahora de pronto ya no ha habido dinero y es todo debido. Y lo único que hay son deudas. Entonces, claro, la seguridad social no tienen para pagar los médicos, para pagar medicamentos, para renovar instalaciones. O sea, si hablamos de vivir en una sociedad capitalista, tiene que funcionar el capitalismo. Lo que no puede funcionar es la miseria.
We cannot continue to do trade with tax havens that are not respecting basic fiscal transparency rules, because countries, governments lose at this game. So you can justify some limits to trade for these matters. If they want to recover this advantage, they may have to set up some limits to trade agreements.
It seems to me clear that the combination of rising inequality with stagnant real incomes, the two together have created a lot of unhappiness.
Personally, I hope I'm buried before the shit hits the fan. I do. But I actually feel sorry for the young people today. The ordinary person in the street doesn't want £1 million a week. All they want is to be able to pay the bills, feed the family and save a little bit. But they can't even give you that. What do you have to do, you know, to make it equal, you know?
Thank you.